your life, but you've been a very large part of mine, and it's my privilege and honor to share with you the greatest game of all.
What's going on, nation? AJ Reilly here again for the latest episode of The Corner. We're going to recap the loss that the Tigers had at Cleveland, where they ended up losing the season series to the Cleveland Guardians after they split a 4-game series. But they got a couple wins, right? So we got to be somewhat excited about that. Should have won the series, however. Now we're going to also preview them welcoming in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani as the Los Angeles Angels come to town for a 3-game weekend series. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball playoff race, break that down a little bit, discuss the races and how close they are or how not close they are in some cases. And then I also want to talk about our good buddy Spencer Torkelson. How's he been doing since he's been demoted? Is there reason for concern? We'll get into all that in this episode of The Corner. But before we jump into the leadoff, I do want to remind you to make sure that you are liking and subscribing and following Detroit Sports Nation on all of your social media platforms, wherever you're most comfortable, right? Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure that you like and subscribe and follow there for all of your Detroit Sports Nation news. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest Detroit sports content, including following The Corner on Twitter at DSN at The Corner, so we can get the latest Detroit Sports Tigers or the Detroit Tigers news, conversations, whatever you want to talk about on Twitter relating to baseball or the Tigers. You can do it with The Corner at DSN at The Corner. You know, the MLB playoff race is heating up, and it will be the subject of our leadoff segment today because we're getting down to it. Really, really close to the end. The finish line is in sight. We're only going to talk about the divisional races today. We'll discuss the wild cards on a later episode of The Corner next week. But there's 7 weeks left. 7 weeks left in the baseball season, unfortunately. In 3 divisions, you have a 3-game or less difference between the leaders and what we'll call the chasers. And then in 3 other divisions, you have at least a 9-game lead for the leaders. So let's break those down. We'll start in our own division in the AL Central, where the Cleveland Guardians lead by 1 game over the Minnesota Twins and by 2.5 games over the Chicago White Sox. So let's look at the remaining schedules, right? Cleveland has 6 games left against the White Sox, and they have 8 games left against the Twins. But they also play some other contenders. San Diego Padres, who haven't been so great since the trade deadline. They have 2 games against them, 3 against the upstart Baltimore Orioles, 7 against Seattle, and 3 against Tampa Bay. They do finish their season with 6 games against Kansas City. Could be a tough road. Let's look at the Chicago White Sox. They have the easiest schedule, but they're easily the most inconsistent team here. They have 6 games left against the Guardians, as we said. They have 9 games left against the Twins. They only have 2 games left against San Diego, 3 games against Seattle, but they play Detroit 6 times, Colorado 2 times, Oakland 3 times. So the White Sox have the best chance to make noise if they can play consistent. The Twins have 9 games left against the White Sox, as we talked about, which is one of the final series of the season. They have 6 against Cleveland, 4 with the Yankees, and 3 with Houston. So it's going to be an uphill battle for them. In the AL East, the New York Yankees lead by 9 games, but we know they've not been playing particularly well. They've been struggling. They've had some issues with hitting the baseball, which we know all too well here in Detroit. I was able, after the Tigers game on Wednesday night, to watch that extra inning game against Tampa Bay where Josh Donaldson hit the walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th down by 3 runs, and it gave me flashbacks to Rajai Davis against the Oakland A's a few years ago. It was a fantastic game and what I thought could be, and even tweeted out, a spark for the Yankees, but then they got demolished last night against the Toronto Blue Jays, which is a pretty pivotal series for the Yankees to assert some dominance. A 9-game lead is a good cushion with 7 weeks left, but it can evaporate quick if you're not playing well. In the AL West, there's no surprise here that the Houston Astros lead by double digits, 11.5 games over the contenders there, Seattle being the next closest and most likely to make the playoffs on a wild card spot. But it's going to be the Astros division to lose over these next 7 weeks. There's a very good chance that they don't. That's your AL picture, right? Your most likely division winners are going to be the Yankees and the Astros, and then there's going to be a 3-team race in the AL Central. And it's going to come down to those games that they play. The White Sox with the best opportunity, given the schedule that they have. But they're also a team that, as we said, very inconsistent. So let's turn that page. Let's go to the NL Central, where St. Louis leads by 3 games over Milwaukee. They have a pretty easy schedule with only 4 left against Milwaukee this season. But they have 7 against the Chicago Cubs, 9 against Pittsburgh, 8 against Cincinnati, 4 against Washington, and then they play 3 against Atlanta, 3 against San Diego, and 3 against the Dodgers. So if you're looking for maybe an odds-on favorite, that schedule is very favorable for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, listen, the St. Louis Cardinals, Chicago Cubs are a rivalry. I get that, and anything can happen in those types of games, but that schedule sets up pretty nice for the Cardinals. Let's look at the Brewers. They have 4 left against St. Louis, 6 against the Chicago Cubs, 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates in Colorado. They also have 4 games against Cincinnati, 4 games against Miami, and 7 games against Arizona. However, right smack dab in the middle of all those games, they have 6 games against the New York teams. And their road games. That's going to be a tough battle for the Brewers to overcome and make headway in that NL Central. That does not set up well for them. The NL East is most likely the most intriguing setup, where the New York Mets have a 3.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta and New York will only play 3 more times. Atlanta does play Houston 3 times, Seattle 3 times, Philadelphia, who's kind of in the mix, and St. Louis 3 times. But they also have 6 with Washington, 2 with Oakland, 3 with Colorado, Miami, and it's not bad. The Mets, on the other hand, have 4 with Philadelphia, 2 with the Yankees, 3 with the Dodgers, 3 with Milwaukee. However, they finished their season with 21 out of 24 games against Washington, Pittsburgh, Chicago Cubs, Miami, and Oakland, ending the season with 3 games against the Washington Nationals. In the NL West, the Dodgers all but have it locked up with a 17-game lead over San Diego. You really have 2 divisions. Well, 3 divisions, I'm sorry. You have 3 divisions, right? The NL Central, AL Central, and the NL East. They're going to bring excitement over the next 7 weeks. The other ones, the AL West, the Astros are going to win that, barring some miracle run by the Mariners. The Yankees, you could see a meltdown, and if you do see a meltdown, you're going to see some heads roll with Aaron Boone, potentially even Cashman, though I think Cashman did a great job at the deadline. And the Dodgers have the West locked up. So the races that we want to focus on for this playoff picture are specifically going to be the AL and NL Central and the NL East. And it's going to be exciting. I watched the Braves and the Mets last night, and just the energy in that game was so fantastic. It was a playoff atmosphere right here in the middle of August. And it was phenomenal. Just entirely phenomenal. It's one of those things that, it gets the juices flowing when you see teams playing good baseball. Something that we're not necessarily accustomed to here in Detroit this season, but it was fun. Same thing with the Yankees and the Rays on Wednesday night. Just good energy, loud stadiums, baseball's being hit hard and fielded well, and pitchers dominate. It's going to be a fun race, and it's going to be something that's going to be very, very entertaining to watch. And before we head to the recap, I do want to throw up and let you know about this place called Gear Up Detroit. If you want the latest Detroit sports gear, you have to check out gearupdetroit.shop. It's a fast and simple process to get original designs and get those original designs, especially in time for the Detroit Lions, which I know we're all a fan of, to kick off their football season. So check it out at gearupdetroit.shop. I got one in the mail yesterday and had just ordered it last week, and I'm ready to represent that one pride as we watch them on Hard Knocks. But this is a baseball show, and so we're going to talk about the Tigers splitting with the Guardians, who won the season series 10-9, and the Tigers have not won a season series against the Cleveland Guardians since 2015. Now, the series was a 4-game series over 3 days with a doubleheader that started on Monday, and as we have all become accustomed to, the Tigers lost game 1 of that doubleheader 4-1 because they struck out 13 times. Drew Hutchinson was really good in this game, 5 1/3 innings, only gave up an earned run, but when you cannot put the ball in play, you cannot win games, which was the case in game 2 because the Tigers put the ball in play. They won 7-5. Kerry Carpenter hit his first major league home run, and Brian Garcia got the win after he pitched really good as well. 6 innings, 3 runs, but the difference was the hitters only struck out 9 times. It wasn't double digits. And that is the thing, right? The ball was being put in play. The Tigers were able to push across runs, and I got to tip my hat, and I've got to give a lot of credit to these guys. We saw 3 guys pitch in this series. We're going to talk about another one here in a minute. But we saw 3 guys pitch in this series who should not be giving the Tigers a chance to win because they're okay pitchers. Drew Hutchinson, Brian Garcia, Garrett Hill, all standing on their head and at least giving the Tigers an opportunity to win, which was something that happened in Game 3 with Garrett Hill. He went 6 innings, only gave up a run, and the Tigers won 4-3. They only had 6 strikeouts, the hitters did. 3 of them by Reilly Green, which that's a conversation for another episode as well, is like what's going on with Reilly Green. But again, Kerry Carpenter hit a home run, and in the first 3 games of this series, you had 3 pitchers that you don't expect much from giving them an opportunity to win, which led to Game 4. Tigers are winning 4-2 going into the 8th inning. Daniel Norris had pitched a phenomenal game. Again, I think he has a 1.03 ERA in his 2 starts with the Tigers. Now, ERA is a starting point, right? We've said that multiple times. It's not the end-all stat, but it's a starting point. Pitched phenomenally. Then we get to the 8th inning, where Andrew Chafin comes in and does his job. Strikes out the side in the first 3 hitters. But that 3rd strike to that last hitter squeaked by Eric Haas. A bit of bad luck. Listen, the ball hit the plate. But every catcher knows that when you have that slider spin that was coming in, and actually it would be this way because it was left-handed, right? That ball is spinning this way. And when it hits the ground, it always bounces opposite. Now, it skipped because it hit the plate. I get that, but Haas was not around that ball. The ball skirts away. The hitter gets to first base. You get a single, pretty hard hit, a bloop ground rule double that looked odd, right? Like, I don't know what Victor Reyes what happened on that play. He was very shaded into the right center field gap. He had a long way to go. I don't think that the ball person, I can't remember if it was a boy or a girl, I don't remember, or it didn't look like the ball person really got in the way, but it looked like he pulled up a little bit. I'm not going to make a judgment and say that he coasted or anything, because it looked like he was running hard. It just looked awkward. Ground rule double, 1-run scores. Then you get an infield single. Willie Castro did everything that he could to make a play. And then you get the Jose Ramirez bloop double that fell in between Willie Castro and Akil Baddoo. Another situation where, and I tweeted this out, I think at this point I've seen enough of Akil Baddoo this season. Okay? In that situation, and maybe it's bad baseball, maybe it's not, he's got to sell out. You know things are going wrong. Try to make a play. But he didn't. And the Guardians ended up scoring 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning and ended up winning 8-4. Tigers hitters only struck out 8 times in Game 4, which is nice. They're just unable to close the deal. We can take some good things away, right? They played good baseball in the middle set of those games and up until the 8th inning. And really, truthfully, the 8th inning, it wasn't because of bad baseball. It was just a bit of that unluckiness that comes in the game. But at this point in the season, it's all about improvements, right? We've talked about this on the wins and losses at this point don't matter. What matters is improvements. So let's flip to the next series where Mike Trout and the Angels are coming to town. Now, it is expected that Mike Trout will be activated off of the injured list before the game on Friday. Let's talk about the pitching matchups. Game 1 Friday at 7:10 has Patrick Sandoval, who's 3-8 with a 3.42 ERA and a 1.49 WHIP. He strikes out about 9.5 hitters per 9 innings, so just over about a hitter an inning. He does walk about 4 per 9 innings. He's a 3.38 batting average on balls in play with a 4.48 FIP. He's going to be facing off against Matt Manning, who does not have a record. He has a 3.24 ERA with a 1.32 WHIP. He's only striking out about 6 per 9, walks about 3 per 9, and has a 3.76 FIP. So just pitching a little bit worse than what his ERA would indicate. Game 2 on Saturdays at 1:10 is going to face showcase Reed Detmers against Tyler Alexander. Now on the season, Detmers has a 1.07 WHIP. He strikes out about a hitter an inning and walks 3 per 9 inning. He only has a 2.33 batting average on balls in play, but is pitching a little bit worse than his ERA would indicate because his FIP is 4.26. Tyler Alexander on the season has a 3.98 ERA, but as a starter, he has a 5.67 ERA with a 4.83 FIP. So he's pitched a little bit worse than maybe what we would give credit for. He only strikes out about 5 per 9, walks about 3 per 9, and has a 2.88 batting average on balls in play. Now Sunday Sunday at 1:40 is going to be the showdown of all showdowns. Actually, I'm just kidding about that. It's really not going to be. Because on Sunday, the Tigers get the opportunity to face Shohei Ohtani, who is 10-7 with a 2.69 ERA and a 1.06 WHIP. He strikes out 13 batters per 9 innings and only walks 2 batters per 9 innings. He has a 3.13 batting average on balls in play and a 2.49 FIP. So, I mean, it's going to be tough sledding for the Tigers on Sunday, especially because slated to start for the Tigers is our long-lost pal, Eduardo Rodriguez. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, E-Rod is back. I don't really know what to say. He's looked good in his minor league starts. Threw an immaculate inning last time out, by the way, which is 9 pitches in an inning, all strikes. Struck out the side. He's 1-3 on the season with a 4.38 ERA and a 1.33 WHIP. I didn't even get into the advanced stats because he hasn't pitched since May 18th. Now, the rumor is that he's going to have to address the team before he starts on Sunday. Which, good. He should. I don't want to make light of the reasoning given for why he was not with the team since June. I don't want to make light of that. But I'm glad that he's going to have to face his teammates. I'm glad that he's going to have to speak to why he wasn't around. So, Erod's going to start on Sunday. I hope that he shows them whatever they saw in order to give him the contract that they gave him. I hope things got worked out in his personal life, and I hope that he can finish the season strong. But let's break down, what do the Angels do? We don't see them very often, once or twice a season, okay? But before we get into that, I do want to let you know just this stat is blowing my mind right now. Since August 1st, the Tigers have walked 31 times, which is dead last in the MLB. They also have struck out 184 times, which is first in Major League Baseball. Not great, man. Not great at all. The Angels are coming in with a decent pitching staff. Their starters are top 10, according to the Fangraphs dashboard. Their bullpen's 21st, so you definitely got to get into the bullpen. Offensively, they're 11th in the base running statistic, and they're 13th in walk percentage. However, they strike out about 26% of the time. They're only 21st in fielding. So, some keys for this series. First of all, just enjoy the series. You don't get to see Ohtani and Trout often. These are three games that are going to be played by two teams who arguably are the biggest disappointments in Major League Baseball this season. So take these three games for what they are. Now, if the Tigers want any chance of winning the series, and a few weeks ago on the corner, I wish I had the clip, but a few weeks ago on the corner, I said the Tigers' schedule up until this series was going to be very, very difficult. And this was most likely the first series that they could win just on paper. Well, we're here. And if they want to win, they have to put the ball in play. There's no other way around it. I know that's like baseball 101. I get it. I totally do. But you cannot strike out against this team. You have to put the ball in play against this team. You have to get to their starters early, and you have to get into the bullpen, which is not as great. 21st in the MLB. So it should be fun. It's going to be interesting to see Trout and Ohtani and get to witness that excellence on the field. So let's wrap up the show and let's check on our buddy Spencer Torkelson. How's he been doing in AAA, and is there reason to be concerned? Well, he's had 24 games played since his demotion with an astronomical 27% K rate. But his walk rate is also up at 13.2%. Both of those statistics are higher than what they were at the major league level. In AAA, he only has a 297 weighted on base average and 76 weighted runs created. However, his ZiPS 3-year projection is still really favorable to him, averaging out to about 3.5 WAR over the next 2 years. And listen, he's only 22. Okay? He's still young. But something's definitely off this season. You know, maybe he's a victim of circumstance in a lot of ways. Just lay out some facts here. He was drafted in 2020. Number 1 overall pick. We understand that. But there was no minor league season for him to take part in. You notice that Jace Young and Peyton Graham and those guys, they've all been playing since they've been drafted. He didn't. It's a lot of time off. And in 2021, he has one full season worth of professional at-bats, 530 at-bats in the minor league level between A, AA, and AAA in 2021. Maybe it was too much pressure too quick. Maybe, the whole theatrics of Miggy handing him his first base glove and kind of him being the only first baseman in the system was a little bit too much. I mean, if you look back at the spring statistics, he didn't really have a reason to break camp with the club. He should have started in AAA this season. Riley Green had a good spring, but broke his foot. But the question is there cause for concern? My good friend Tyler Cotilla, scout with Perfect Game, contributor here at Detroit Sports Nation. He's been, we'll call him a friend of the show because he's been on a couple of times. Wrote a great article on Torkelson on Detroit Sports Nation. You can check that out there. It's too early to call Spencer Torkelson a bust. For sure. Way too early. You got to give him at least 1,000 Major League at-bats to determine the type of hitter that he's going to be. Any scout will tell you that. But we should be worried a little bit. Is he broken? Did the training that he got while he was at the Major League level and the development there lead to this broken swing? I mean, even when you look at his Fangraphs profile, and the report on him is that he was one of the greatest collegiate hitters of the decade. And that hit tool carries him and has the possibility of being elite. But he's been far from that in his first go-around in the major leagues. And listen, maybe it takes some guys some time to figure it out. I don't want to sound the alarm. We don't want to overreact on these guys yet. Spencer Torkelson was the clear-cut number one pick. There's a reason for that. So before we start jumping off the deep end and going, oh, he's a bust, what a waste of a pick. It's like, let's give the kid a chance, okay? You can be concerned. There's no reason to not be concerned right now. But let's not write him off. Because writing him off could be a mistake. Let's give him the opportunity. Well, when the rosters expand, he may be back up, or maybe he won't. We'll just be like, listen, man, 22's a wash. Get ready for 2023. There's a little bit of concern, but nothing that would make you want to move on. There's still reason for hope when you have a kid who's, one of the best collegiate hitters of a decade. It's important that as fans, we don't overreact. Yes, we want people to come up and set the world on fire, right? It would be nice to have, a Michael Harris like Atlanta has, or a Julio Rodriguez. And neither of our top prospects are really either of those guys. Green's struggling right now. Torkelson was obviously demoted. But that doesn't mean that they're not good ball players. I mean, this team was a better team when Riley Green came up. And had those two come up together, I wonder if that would have affected Torkelson in his season this year. I don't know. I'm not going to play the if, ands, or buts game. But I'm going to say let's take a deep breath for a second. Let's tap the brakes, and let's give the kid an opportunity to actually grow into the professional hitter that we all believed that he could be. Because the tools are there. Just adjustments need to be made. So let's tap the brakes. It's okay to be concerned, but it's not okay to write off. And before we head out, I do want to remind you one more time to make sure that you're liking and following Detroit Sports Nation on all of those social media platforms, right? Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We are all over them. We got growing followings on Instagram and TikTok. We got 200,000 strong on Facebook. You will get notifications. And make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and click that bell so you can get the notifications for our latest content. And don't forget, you can also follow The Corner on Twitter at DSN at The Corner. I am AJ Reilly. This has been the latest edition of The Corner. I'll see you next week before our next series. And until then, as always, go Tigers.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what?